I didn't mean to stare, but she had that kind of presence that made silence feel like a choice. She sat across from me in the soft afternoon light, half turned toward the window, like she wasn't sure if she wanted to be here. The cafe was mostly empty, two college students in the corner with headphones in, a barista humming quietly. But all I could hear was the clink of her spoon against the inside of her mug, and the low hum of her voice when she finally spoke. "You always stir your coffee like that?" she asked. I glanced down at my hand, still circling the spoon absently. "What? Oh, I guess I wasn't paying attention." She smiled. Not wide, just the kind that barely lifts the edge of the mouth, almost like she didn't want to be caught doing it. We'd met a few weeks ago. I was helping at the community writing workshop downtown. She taught the adult memoir class on Saturdays. Said she only did it to get out of her head. The first time I heard her read something aloud, I forgot to breathe for the last half of it. There was a kind of gravity to the way she spoke. Not just her voice, the way she paused, the weight behind each word. She looked like someone who'd loved and lost in equal measure. Still beautiful, in the way that makes you want to know her laugh before her name. I was supposed to leave town by the end of the month. My internship was almost over. That was the rule I made. No attachments, no unnecessary threads. And yet I'd been finding excuses to talk to her after class, walk her to her car, ask about some passage in the book I'd already read twice. She never gave much away. But today, she asked if I wanted coffee. Not in a flirty way, more like she was tired of overthinking it. "Your generation's always so careful," she said now, watching the street outside. Careful not to say the wrong thing. Careful not to cross lines. I didn't know if she meant that as a compliment or a warning. I tried to laugh it off, but it came out small. "I guess we've been taught to keep things clean," I said. "Not blur boundaries." She finally looked at me. And this time, it wasn't guarded. Her eyes were soft but tired, like she'd spent years learning how not to show too much. "And you think that's how life works?" she asked. I couldn't answer. She leaned forward then, her hand brushing against mine. So lightly, I wasn't sure if it was on purpose. But she didn't pull away. Her skin was warm, not trembling, just steady. Then she said it, quiet and deliberate. "Some things shouldn't be off limits." The silence after hung heavy. I didn't know where to put my hands. I didn't even know what part of that sentence made my throat go dry. The things, or the way she said shouldn't. I wanted to say something, ask what she meant, or if she meant me. But the words wouldn't come. And before I could try again, the bell over the cafe door chimed behind us. She looked toward it. Her expression changed, and I could feel it. The moment shifting, slipping just out of reach. The man who walked into the cafe looked about her age, maybe older. He nodded at her, casually, like it wasn't the first time he'd seen her here. But something in her shoulders shifted when she saw him. Not fear exactly, just habit. She nodded back, polite, but not warm. She didn't say who he was, and I didn't ask. After he ordered and sat far off near the window, she stirred her coffee again, even though it was almost gone. "I was married for 18 years, she said quietly. "Divorced 5 years now. It's still strange how silence doesn't feel like peace when you get used to explaining yourself every day." I didn't know what to say to that, so I said nothing. Just let her keep going. "He wasn't a bad man," she added. "He just stopped seeing me. Not in the cruel way. Just in the way where you disappear slowly and no one notices." Her words sat between us like steam off her cup. I wanted to ask why she was telling me this, but part of me already knew. I'd never been in love. Not really. Not in a lasting way. My longest relationship lasted 8 months and ended because I was distracted. I didn't know how to explain that most people bored me once I saw through their rehearsed parts. But she wasn't rehearsed. She spoke like she'd already lived the fallout of her choices and wasn't afraid of the mess left behind. Still, it wasn't just the age difference that made this feel impossible. It was that she knew my mother. They weren't close, but they'd met years ago through work. My mother was the reason I found the workshop in the first place, said it'd be good experience while I was home for the summer. She had no idea who I kept staying late to talk to, and I wasn't sure I wanted her to. "So what happens?" I said slowly. When something starts to feel not off limits. She smiled again, but it was sad this time. That's when people start to lie to themselves. A long silence stretched out, filled with the clinking of plates, the rustle of someone flipping a newspaper. Then, softly, she asked, "Do you remember that first night? After class? When it rained and the lights went out?" I nodded. I remembered every second. The flicker of the exit sign, the way we'd stayed behind talking while the storm passed, the way she laughed when I offered her my jacket like I still thought I was in high school. "You said something," she said, tilting her head, "that I should write more about what I don't want anyone to read." I never forgot that. She reached across the table again, not tentative this time, and brushed a crumb from the side of my hand. Her fingers lingered, just enough. And neither of us pulled away. She pulled her hand away first. Not suddenly. More like it drifted back to her lap. Careful, like she'd just remembered where we were. Her eyes flicked once toward the man by the window. He was gone. "Come on," she said, standing. "Walk with me." I followed without thinking. Outside, the sun was slipping behind the trees, casting long shadows across the sidewalk. We didn't talk for a minute. Her heels clicked softly against the pavement. I matched her steps, half a pace behind, like I didn't want to make it real by walking beside her. "You okay?" I finally asked. She glanced sideways. "Are you?" I almost said yes, but my chest felt tight, like I'd swallowed a truth I didn't want to admit yet. We walked until the street thinned out, past shuttered shops and the old brick library. She stopped near a bench, that quiet, half-private kind of spot people use when they don't want to be seen but aren't ready to hide. I sat first. She stood, arms folded. "This is stupid," she muttered. I looked up. "What is this? Us? Whatever this is pretending to be." Her voice was steady, but I caught the edge underneath. "You're 24? 23. She closed her eyes. "God, I'm not a kid," I said. "No, but you're someone's kid. Your mom's. And I'm someone she knows. I remember her showing me your graduation photo. That was, 2 years ago. I said you looked like her." I felt heat rise in my face. Not anger, just shame. I hated how small I suddenly felt, like I was in the wrong for something I hadn't even done. Then her phone buzzed. She pulled it out, read the screen, and didn't move. "Who is it?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. Then, without looking up, "My ex-husband. He wants to talk tonight. Said he's been thinking." The silence between us stretched thin. "You going?" I asked. "I don't know." We both knew what that meant. And then, like the world wanted to remind us how fragile it all was, my phone rang too. "Mom." I let it buzz. She sat beside me. Neither of us moved. I looked over and saw it in her. That flicker of something she didn't want to feel. A softness pulling against her better judgment. Her hand was on the bench between us, fingers curled loosely, not quite touching mine. "I've been careful my whole life," she whispered. "It didn't protect me from anything." I swallowed hard. My hand inched closer. Our fingers brushed, not fully, not yet. And that's when her ex-husband's car pulled up to the curb. She didn't notice at first. I saw him through the window, staring. Then the window rolled down. She looked up, and everything in her face shut down. He didn't get out of the car, just sat there, one arm slung over the wheel like he had all the time in the world. Watching her, watching us. She stood up slowly. I stayed seated, heart pounding. "Do you need to go?" I asked. She didn't answer. I looked up at her, and her expression scared me. Not because she looked angry. She didn't. She looked tired, worn in a way that had nothing to do with age. Like this whole thing, him, me, whatever we were becoming, had caught up to her all at once. "I can't do this in public," she said softly. I stood. "Then let's not be public." Her eyes flashed, something between guilt and want, and every word she hadn't said since that night in the rain. "That's not the point. He doesn't get to act like this," I said. "He left you. He doesn't get to sit there and—" She turned on me, not loud but sharp. "You think this is about him?" The air cracked. My throat went dry. "I wake up every day trying not to miss the years I wasted," she said. "Then I sit across from you, and God, I feel everything I've tried to lock away for years. That was the confession. Right there, hidden in the heat of frustration. She was trembling. I didn't know if it was because she was afraid or because she wanted me to say something that would undo her resolve. I took a step closer. You don't have to keep pretending this doesn't matter, I said. You don't have to protect me from whatever this is. She stared at me like I'd just told her the thing she'd been waiting for, but couldn't admit she wanted. Her voice dropped. You really think you know what you're asking for? I didn't move. I know what I'm feeling. There was a flicker of panic in her eyes. And then, jealousy, like a flash of heat across her face. Do girls your age know how lucky they are? She asked bitterly. How easy it is to have your attention. You're handsome, thoughtful, probably good in bed. Don't look at me like that. I'm not blind. My breath caught. She was spiraling, and I didn't dare interrupt her. You're going to wake up one day and wonder what the hell you were doing wasting time with someone twice your age who still flinches when the wrong song plays on the radio. I'm not wasting anything, I said quietly. I'm choosing you. That stopped her. Something shifted in her face, like a window opening too fast in a storm. She looked like she might cry, and then she stepped forward. So close I could feel the heat off her skin, the faint scent of her shampoo. Her eyes flicked down to my mouth. She opened her lips just slightly, not speaking, just breathing. And then, a hand slammed against the driver's side window. Her ex was outside the car, coming straight toward us. He didn't yell. That was what made it worse. He just walked up and stood there, too close, eyes flicking from me to her. His face calm, almost smug. I figured it out, he said. Took me a while. She didn't move. Her arms crossed tightly, lips pressed into a thin line. But I saw her flinch, barely, like he'd already won something just by showing up. I came by the workshop last week, he added, to her, not to me. Saw the way you looked at him. Should have trusted my gut. I stepped forward. You need to back off. He laughed under his breath. Relax. I'm not here to fight the kid. Don't call him that, she said quietly. He turned to her, eyebrows raised. Wow, you're already defending him. I saw it then, his real intention. Not reconciliation. Not jealousy. Control. He didn't want her back. He just didn't want her free. You always needed someone to look at you like you were the answer, he said. Guess it just had to be someone young enough to believe it. Her eyes welled, fast and sharp, but she didn't let a single tear fall. She stood straighter, looked him in the eye. You don't get to lecture me about truth, she said. Not after what you did. Something shifted in his jaw. You told him? She said nothing. He turned to me. You're not just the summer fling. You're the secret, huh? What is he talking about? I asked. Silence. Her eyes darted toward me, then away. She didn't speak. Jesus, he muttered. You really didn't tell him. I turned to her again. Tell me what? She looked frozen. Then, quietly, like the words had weight, your mom. She asked me to keep an eye on you this summer. She didn't know it would turn into this. I didn't plan it. The world tilted. Everything slowed, like her voice was coming through water. You've been what? Not spying. Not. She stepped toward me. It wasn't like that. I stopped reporting back after the first week. I barely said anything to her. I didn't mean to get close to you, but you did, I said, backing up. You knew this wasn't just random. You were playing a part before I ever said a word to you. No, that's not what it was. Was any of it real? My voice cracked. She reached out. Of course it was. But I was scared. I thought if I told you, I'd lose you before I ever had the chance to. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. Mom, can we talk? I'm worried about you and Claire. I looked up. Her name. In my mother's text. She saw it too. And for the first time since I met her, Claire looked genuinely afraid. I didn't say anything. Not right away. Claire just stood there, not moving, not blinking, as if stillness could buy her time. My mom's text burned in my hand, but the sting was deeper than that. It was her face that undid me. Not the fear, the hope. She still thought she could fix it. That whatever this was, broken, complicated, maybe even impossible, was worth saving. I wasn't reporting to her, she said again, slower this time. like clarity might soften the truth. She just asked me to watch over you. She worried. That's all. And then we started talking. And everything changed. Everything changed for you, I said, my voice tight. But I'm still the kid she asked you to babysit. Her mouth parted like she wanted to argue, but then it dropped shut. She looked down at her hands. She didn't deny it. I didn't want it to be like this, she whispered. Then what did you want? I wanted to feel something again, she said louder now. Her voice cracked, raw and unfiltered. I wanted to be seen without having to perform. I wanted. She stopped herself, shaking her head. I didn't mean for it to be you. But it was. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of everything we didn't know how to say. I should have walked away, told her we were done, let the mess collapse under its own weight. But I didn't. I couldn't. Because the thing no one tells you is, heartbreak doesn't always happen in the leaving. Sometimes it happens when you don't. I don't know what to do with this, I said honestly. You were the only thing that felt real this summer. She stepped closer. I was real. I still am. That doesn't go away just because the beginning was messy. I wanted to believe her. God, I almost did. I told her no, she added. When your mom asked for updates. I changed the subject. I didn't betray you. I just didn't tell you where it started. Because I didn't want to lose where it was going. She reached out, hand trembling. I stared at it. That same hand that touched mine the first day, so gently. The same hand that brushed crumbs from my wrist, that lingered just long enough to mean something without saying it. I took it. It was warm, soft, still shaking, and I squeezed back. I don't care what my mom thinks, I said quietly. I'll deal with that. But I need to know this wasn't just loneliness in disguise. It wasn't, she said. I swear. For the first time, I believed her. We didn't kiss. We didn't say, I love you. But we stood there, hands locked, eyes full of things we weren't ready to promise. And that was enough for now. We didn't run away together. That's what people always expect. Some cinematic ending, full of sweeping music and grand declarations. But real life's quieter than that. Messier, more tender. The next morning, I told my mom. I expected yelling, tears, maybe guilt. What I got was a long silence. Then she said, Claire? Claire. I nodded. She looked tired. I just didn't want you to get hurt. I already did, I told her. But it was my choice. That's when she realized she couldn't control it anymore. I wasn't a boy she could protect from everything. I was a man who had already chosen someone messy, imperfect, and real, because she made me feel seen in a way no one else ever had. She didn't approve. She didn't disown me either. Just pulled back, like she wasn't sure where she fit in my life anymore. Claire and I didn't see each other for a few days after the park. She said she needed space, not from me, but from the noise. Her ex had started texting again, suddenly sentimental, asking to try for real this time. But she didn't go back to him. She called me instead. We met at the same cafe, same table. This time, I stirred my coffee without realizing it again, and she smiled at me like she'd been waiting for that moment. I'm scared, she said. I know. I don't know how to be with someone who doesn't expect me to be broken. You don't have to be anything, I said. Not for me. She looked down. People are going to stare. Let them. That was the closest we ever came to declaring something official. No one else would have called it a love story. But it was ours. I moved into a small apartment nearby. Took a job that let me stay close a little longer, just to see where this would go. She kept teaching her memoir class. I still helped with the workshops, sometimes just to hear her read. We never used labels. Not because we were afraid, but because we didn't need to prove anything to anyone. What we had was flawed, delicate, full of pauses and sidelong glances and moments where we both questioned whether we were doing the right thing. But it was honest. And for the first time in both of our lives, that was enough. So, was it worth it? The risk? The confusion? The shame? The way everything could have fallen apart 100 times? Yeah, because sometimes the people who seem off limits are the ones who actually open us. And sometimes, all it takes is someone reaching across the table, just once, to change the rest of your story. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next? Let me know in the comments. I'm listening.